I trusted Janet with everything. We'd been together since we were 10 years old, married for 12. But one night, a single phone call shattered everything I thought I knew about my wife. This is the story of how I caught her cheating and how it destroyed the life we built together. Janet and I were married for 12 years. We'd been lovers since childhood. I never cared much for college, so right after high school, I got an entry-level job at Desmond Engineering as a draftsman. A year later, Janet and I got married. By the next year, we were proud parents of twin girls, Bethany and Brittany. Times were tough in the beginning, but we made it work. I was still a draftsman, a few grades higher now, and the money was decent, though still tight. We managed to buy a small house and had 2 good cars. They weren't new, but they weren't beat up either. Janet always wanted to be a housewife. She never worked, and that was fine with me. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. Janet was still beautiful. A little thicker than when we got married, but not by much. She stood just over 5 feet tall with dark brown hair and bangs. She looked like a young Marie Osmond. I hadn't changed much either, still built like the right tackle I was in high school. Then one day, Billy Martin moved into town. He'd taken a job at Desmond Engineering as a surveyor. Billy and I had played football against each other back in the day, so we hit it off right away. He was married, too. To his high school sweetheart, Sarah, a redhead. Sarah and Janet became instant friends. They didn't have kids yet, but they were perfect babysitters. When Billy and I weren't at work, we'd hang out, talk football, grab a few beers, and the girls would do their own thing. But 6 months ago, I started noticing things. The PTA meetings that used to be once a month suddenly became once a week. Sarah didn't even have kids, but she went to all of them with Janet. Tupperware parties, book clubs, Magic Chef events, you name it. They were going out more and buying less. And Janet's collection of fancy lingerie? It was growing fast, though I wasn't the one seeing it. That's when I started getting suspicious. One night, Janet came home late from what she called a basket party. She'd taken a shower before she left, and another one the moment she came back. That was strange. While she was in the shower, I checked the basket she brought home and found a set of black lace lingerie. Who wears black lace lingerie to a basket party? Something in me snapped. I checked her underwear from that night, and they were wet and sticky. It wasn't mine. For the first time in our marriage, I went through her phone. She hadn't deleted anything. Dozens of calls to and from Sarah S., Sarah H., and Sarah W. And then I noticed 3 more names, KC, KH, and KW. At first, I didn't understand. But then it hit me, SA for cell, 8 for home, U for work, and the work number for KW matched Sarah's office number, just with a different extension. That meant Janet was talking to someone who worked with Sarah, and Sarah had to be the one who introduced them. I called the number. A man's voice answered the voicemail. "You've reached Ken Sanders' desk. Leave a message and I'll get back to you." I hung up. I had my answer. That night, Janet came into the living room and asked, "John, are you coming to bed?" I told her I'd be there soon, pretending to read, but sleep didn't come easy that night. The next morning, while the girls were at school, I confronted her. "Tell me about your novel," I said. She looked confused. "What novel?" I sighed. "Janet, are you cheating on me?" Her expression changed, defensive, nervous. "John, we've been married 12 years. Why would you think that?" I stared right at her. "Because I'm not stupid." She tried to laugh it off, said I was paranoid. So I pressed harder. "Why do you go to weekly PTA meetings that don't exist?" She froze. Then came the lie. "Oh, it's actually ladies' night at Rosie's Cantina. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you or Billy to think we were doing anything bad." "Nice try," I said, "but I'll be checking that." Then I asked, "Why do you take showers before and after your little Tupperware parties?" She claimed it was because people smoked at those events. Finally, I pulled out the evidence. "These are the panties you wore last night." I threw them on the table. "They're soaked, and it's not from you sweating." Her face turned white. I leaned forward. "Don't tell me it's a yeast infection, Janet. I know what the hell sperm looks like." She froze. Then finally, I asked the question that would change everything. "Who the hell is Ken Sanders?" She backed away, terrified. I slammed my fist on the table. I said, "Who is he?" Tears filled her eyes. "He's just a friend," she whispered. "Did you sleep with him?" She broke. Yes, I did. I'm sorry, John, please stop. I'm so sorry." I stared at her in silence. Then her phone rang. It was Ken, I answered. "Good morning, sugar," he said cheerfully. "I saw you called last night. Did you forget something?" Janet stood there, frozen in horror. "Janet's a little busy right now," I said calmly. "But don't worry, Ken. I'll be seeing you later today." I hung up. That morning, I told Janet to pack her things. She was to be gone by the time I got back, then I went to the office to tell Billy what happened. When I told him everything, about Sarah and Janet and the guys they'd been seeing, he went quiet. Then he said, "John, I know Calvin Bostic. We went to school together, and yeah, I know Ken Sanders too." He hung up. A few hours later, I got a call. Billy had gone to Sarah's office, found Calvin in the parking lot, and beat him half to death. He was arrested on the spot. Ken, on the other hand, vanished. He quit his job that morning and packed up his things. I went to his house later that day. He was gone, but his phone, passport, and laptop were still there. I took them. When I went through his computer, I found emails that made my blood run cold. Ken had a job lined up in Spain, and Janet was planning to go with him. She was going to file for divorce, declare me an unfit father, and take my daughters out of the country. I printed everything, the emails, the photos, the letters. She was ready to destroy me, but she didn't realize I already knew everything. Outro, voiceover tone drop. It's been months since that day. The girls are with me now. Janet lives with her parents. Ken never showed his face again. Sometimes I wonder how long she'd been planning it. But then I remember her last text, sent from Sarah's phone. "Sorry for the trouble. Love, Janet." "No, Janet, you weren't sorry. You were just caught." I still remember her from high school. Back then, she was one of the goth girls. They had their own small group, always sticking together. Most of the other kids, especially the athletes like me, avoided them. They were outsiders. She looked completely normal now, but I could only ever remember her with pink hair, black lipstick, and dark eyeliner. The funny thing was, nobody ever really knew what the goths were into. People whispered, drugs, witchcraft, weird stuff. But with Jody, it was probably none of those things. Still, back then, you believed the most outrageous rumors. The sign on her desk read, "J. Mitchell." I assumed she'd never been married. 12 years ago, that would have made sense. But today, she looked different. Confident, mature. Before I could say anything, she looked up. "What can I do for you?" she asked. My train of thought crashed instantly. "You look—" "Great, Jod," I stammered. She laughed softly. "You mean compared to how I looked before?" I felt embarrassed. "Probably, but I didn't mean to imply anything. Relax, John," she said kindly. I was halfway through college when I realized I didn't need to hide behind a false facade. I've been what you'd call normal for almost a decade now. I nodded awkwardly. "That's great," she smirked. "Now why are you here?" I took a deep breath. "Before we start, I need to ask, do you have a file or report on me? Anything at all?" Her fingers danced across the keyboard like a pianist. "There's nothing here, John. You're married to Janet Wilcox, right?" "Yes," I replied. "Nothing under her name either," she said. "Sounds like you two are feeding your children, not beating them. You have kids, right?" "Yes, twin girls, Bethany and Brittany. They're 12. "Fine. So what's the problem?" I hesitated. This might sound far-fetched, but my wife is planning to leave me, and she wants to take the girls with her. "It's not hard to believe," Jody said calmly. "We see that all the time. But shouldn't she have a reason?" "You checked. There's nothing in the system." "That's right, John," she said. "But just because it's not in the computer doesn't mean you didn't do anything. Maybe she's collecting information before filing a report." I sighed. "So I can't win." "I didn't say that," she replied. "Why do you think she's planning this?" I hesitated, then pulled out a printed email. "I wasn't going to show anyone this, but I have proof." I handed it to her. She read it carefully. "Where did you get this?" "Illegally," I admitted. "It's not usable in court, but it's proof of what's going on." I didn't know where else to turn. She leaned back, silent for a few seconds. Then she asked, Can you come back tomorrow morning? Sure, I said. She smiled. Good. See you then. Can I keep this copy? I nodded, turned, and walked toward the door. It was nice to see you again, John, she said. And just like that, I forgot the goth girl from high school. This was a new Jody. The next few days were a blur. I hired a lawyer, paid everything up front. All I wanted was joint custody of my girls, nothing more. If Janet wanted the house, she could have it. It was worth less than the mortgage anyway. Then I met my friend Billy for lunch at Taco Bell. He looked excited. You won't believe this, he said.